There is no question. If you can afford a lawyer during a pre-file investigation or pre-arrest incident, you need to hire them immediately. So if there's an option, right, a public defender is a good option, but a private lawyer is a great option. We can, as a private lawyer, work the pre-arrest, work the pre-file investigation, work the bond court, the post-arrest action, preserve evidence, fight the case all the way through with the time and detail that we need, and then at the end of the case, when it's over and you get a great result, we can seal or expunge your record. So for pre-file investigations, while the state attorney is reviewing all the documents they're given from an officer, they then have to make a determination as, do I charge them with all of these crimes that the officer did? Or is there an alternative to what the officer alleged? And that's when we come in and say, no, Mr. or Mrs. State Attorney, let me tell you how you should actually charge my client, or if you should even charge them at all. So a really good example here is if someone gets arrested, right? Let's say that a bunch of kids are out. They break into a house and they're spray painting the walls. That could technically be burglary of a dwelling, a very serious felony. That can ruin a young man's life. If the state attorney reviews the folder, the officers charge them with burglary of a dwelling, the state attorney is going to go ahead and say, yeah, this checks off all the boxes. However, if you have a lawyer that can do a pre-file investigation, review the actual dwelling, figure out it's a structure, and certainly go into any form of allegation that a confession or the entry into that home was actually done in violation of a constitutional privilege, the state attorney can go, you know what, you're right. Would you be okay if I downfile it to maybe just a trespass? And that way we can get him into a diversion program and he can go ahead and seal or expunge his record at the end of it and get on with his life. Without a private lawyer, it's very, very rare for something like that to happen. What happens after someone gets arrested at the public defender's office, unfortunately, is the file gets sent to a unit, then to another unit, and then to another unit. And a lot of times that file will be hot potato and maybe even sit in a folder, okay? Or sit in a cubicle, a little cubicle cubby where you put the folders in. And it sits there. I was there. I was a public defender. I would walk in and I'd see a stack of 5. I'd grab them, I'd bring it to my office, but then I have 5 other cases set for trial that day. And if I'm sitting there, who do I give my time and attention to? The 5 cases set for trial that day, or the 5 cases that there's still about a year, maybe more, 2 years, 3 years left to fight that case? And guess what happens? The public defender has to work on the cases that are set for trial. Those cases in the pre-file investigative stage, right, or the early stages of the case, don't get the attention. The voice is not spoken to the state attorney. The state attorney doesn't hear the side of our client. And what do? They side with the police. They back the boys in blue. They file the charges as they have been charged, and they say, we'll figure it out in court. So that case that I was talking about, the house spray painting, we were able to get the case down to a misdemeanor, then into a diversion program, and dismissed within 6 months. Client has expunged their record, and he's doing fantastic. He's now at the University of Florida. That story doesn't happen, or likely doesn't happen, if you have the public defender. Because if that file sits there and the time and attention is not given to it and the story is not presented, that case goes on for maybe a year, 2 years. Burglary of a dwelling is a very serious charge. So I just want to impart some of the knowledge and experience that I have on both ends, right? As a private lawyer and then as a public defender. So let's talk about after your arrest. After the case is over, so the case goes through and gets a tremendous result. The charges are dismissed against you. What happens next? A public defender, if they're able to get you a great result like that, can't carry the torch to make your life better into the next step of expunging and sealing your record. That is something that a public defender is not allowed to do. They have an ability, being a great lawyer, that they can do, but they do not have permission to do that. You need a private lawyer to seal or expunge your case. So if someone doesn't have the ability or the permission to seal or expunge your record, it's just going to sit there. Yeah, you could get a great result, but anyone these day and age on the digital world can Google you, see the case, actually look at the police report, look at what you were charged with, look at what happened in court, see your mugshot on that probable cause affidavit police report. And even though the case was beat, you got a great result. If you're trying to get hired by someone, or you've got, a crazy mother-in-law looking into you, your record's going to be there. It's going to be public knowledge. Public access is granted to criminal court systems. So what do we have to do? We have to seal or expunge that so that this really is put in your past and it's like it never happened. And a public defender can't do that, and a private lawyer can. And as a former public defender, I can tell you that the offices throughout the Tri-County area do a very good job, but it doesn't even come close to what a private lawyer can do for you. So I hope this helped in making a decision, or if you're investigating kind of what does a public defender really do as opposed to a private lawyer. The value there for a private lawyer is tremendous. So I highly, highly recommend that you contact a private lawyer when any form of an incident arises that you may believe is criminal.